Continuing with the study of in Ein Yacov, and we are now in the book of Berachot, and we're looking at the three night watches. According to the Mishnah, in Berachot 3a, the Mishnah stated, "You may say the Shema until the end of the first watch," so said Rabbi Eliezer. The Gemara asks, what is Eliezer's opinion? If he holds that the night has three watches, then they should say until the end of the fourth hour. And if he holds the night has four watches, then he should say until the end of the third hour. The Gemara answers, and he says actually holds that the night is divided into three shifts. But he does not speak in terms of hours, because he wants to teach us in the passing that just as the shift changes in the heavens among the ministering angels, so are the watches here on earth. It's been taught by Rabbi Eliezer that the night is divided into three shifts. And at each shift, the Holy One, blessed be He, sits and roars like a lion. As it says, God roars from on high. He makes His voice heard from His holy dwelling. He roars aloud over His earthly abode. Jeremiah 25, verse 30. Here on earth, you can tell the different watches of the night by the following signs. I want you to listen to this. In the first shift, the donkey brays. In the second, the dog barks. In the third, the baby nurses from its mother's breast. And the wife talks with her husband. The Gemara inquires, what does Rabbi Eliezer mean by the signs he gave for the shifts here on earth? Do they take place at the beginning of the shifts? If so, does he not need a special sign to indicate that the beginning of the first shift is nightfall? Then again, if he thinks that these signs mark the end of the watch, why does he need a special sign to mark the end of the last watch? Obviously, it's daybreak. The Gemara answers, these signs denote the following times. The donkey braying tells us of something when the end of the first watch is. The baby's nursing telling us the beginning of the third watch, and the dog barking marks the middle of the middle shift. And if you want, you may say also, all these times mark the end of the respective shifts. And if you object that the last watch needs no sign because you can just look out and see it's day, I'll tell you that the sign is needed for a man to sleep in a dark room when the windows and does not know when it's time to be able to recite the Shema. When he hears a woman talking to her husband and the baby nursing from its mother's milk, he knows that it's time to get up and recite the Shema. Rabbi Yitzhak ben Shmuel said in the name of Rav, the night is divided into three watches. And at each watch, the Holy One, blessed be He, sits and roars like a lion and says, woe to my children! Woe to my children! Because of their sins I have destroyed my house, burned my sanctuary, and exiled my children among the nations of the world. Those three watches, Hashem Roars. This is an incredible verse. Now, there's a dispute among the Tanaim teaching that whether the night is divided into three watches. The watches refer to the groups of angels who take turns in singing God's praises. Now, also, it should be explicit that it set a clear-cut time rather than expressed in terms of night watches. In Hebrew, the text of the word roar, sha'ag, occurs three times in the verse, an allusion to these three watches. And when it's the time that baby grows hungry, that's of course early in the morning when the child gets up because the child is hungry. The third watch is at the end of the night when people wake up and begin to talk early to each other. In the figurative sense, the woman's talking to her husband symbolizes the Jewish people praying to God early in the morning. This according to Maharsha. In other words, these three watches indicate that God is attentive. He is crying out as the children are perhaps sleeping and they're about to wake up. And you say, oh, look what I have done. I have destroyed them. But why has Hashem destroyed His house? Why did He exile us? And of this I make mention in my previous video that as we get closer to the time of Tisha B'Av, we're reminded of the great sin that the Jewish people committed, which was sinat hinam, baseless hatred one for another. And the only way to correct it is baseless love one for another. And unfortunately, in today's society, we're repeating the same mistake. And let me just say this, if here in the United States, the rabbis in particular, as well as the Jews, are not careful of this, it's very possible we can be exiled out of this land and kicked out or removed or something atrocious can happen here. Yes, here, in this land of freedom, in this land of prosperity, in this land which we Jews have experienced great blessings. So it's really a warning more than everything, because Hashem is roaring 3 times according to this, although we don't hear it. It says in the Berachot, he roars. So this is obviously figuratively speaking on a nightly manner, Hashem's call for us to get back to Him, to get back to not hating one another. This is Moshe Otero. Have a wonderful Shabbat Shalom.